This is Helping of Happiness, episode number 152. Today we have on Jessie Hopkins from Seek Learning, and Jessie is going to talk to us all about how to be more prepared in our parenting, specifically in keeping us all ready to go in our cars. She's going to give us some great tips on how to stash our car so we can be the most prepared when life might unexpectedly throw us a little curveball. She's also going to teach us some really fun ways to learn with our kids at home and make learning more fun. Hi, I'm Hillary Hess, and you're listening to Helping of Happiness. I am a crazy mom of 7 kids who loves to build memories through eating delicious family recipes and going on adventures with my family. On this podcast, you'll be introduced to light-filled people and ideas that inspire me to be a better mom and help me bring family closer together and closer to Jesus Christ. Before we talk to Jessie, I just wanted to talk about something with you a little bit here. In our podcasts, we reference something called the Spirit or personal revelation or the Holy Ghost a lot in the things that we conversate about with different guests, and I know that I mention it a lot, and I just wanted to explain, if you're not a member of my faith, a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, what that even means to me. I talk about it in my very, very first episode that we ever did, but if you are new, you probably haven't gone back and heard that one. So we believe in my church that you can pray to God and receive direction through your thoughts, your ideas, and your feelings. And the direction and thoughts and feelings that you get is what we call, you receive that through the Holy Ghost or the Holy Spirit. And you might recognize that as your conscience or as the light of Christ or your gut. There's a lot of different ways that you can explain that. And that's something that I really try hard to tap into, and you'll hear our guest that we have on talks about that today too. It's something that I've worked on for a really long time. I have really trying to make sure that I take extra time in the morning to have some quiet time, or even in the evenings, so that I can have an opportunity that when I'm saying my prayers or reading my scriptures, like that voice can be enhanced a bit. And it took me a while to figure it out, and I'm still learning. I'm not perfect at it, but with practice, it's really brought so much purpose and so much peace into my life. And that's one reason I talk about it so much on this podcast, is because it is a huge part of my life and who I am and how my life is guided. And so sometimes I get uncomfortable and stretched when I do what this gut is telling me to do, but I always feel growth when I do it. And when I look back, I can see how much it has helped me through the things that I've been doing. So anyway, I just wanted to explain that a little bit in case you hear me talking about it so often and it hasn't even been addressed. So there you go. We're going to talk to Jessie, and then after we talk to Jessie, we do have our new segment that is going to be with Lindy Shock from Enoch Studies at the very end. We're going to have our little spoonful of spirit. So she's going to go over a little Come Follow Me, which is our Sunday school curriculum that we've been studying. She's going to give us a little topic every week at the end of that, and just fill up our little spirits and help us get a little closer to Jesus Christ. So you'll hear about that at the very end. So have a great listen. Well, I'm super excited to introduce you guys to my new friend, Jessie Hopkins from Seek Learning. Hey, Jessie.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited that you could be here and we can get to know each other a little better, and I can hear more about what you do, because I've been following you on Instagram and I learned so much from you, and I just would love for you to tell us a little bit about you and your family, and then we can go into all the fun things that you're up to.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So I live in Utah with my husband and 3 little kids. My kids are 6 and 4 and 1.5. So they're just little.
Little tiny people.
And I'm a stay-at-home mom and just take care of my kids all day. So, but before I had kids, I was a teacher. I taught elementary school. I taught 1st and 2nd grade. And then also I play the violin. So when I was in college, I was a a violin performance major, and I ended up getting tendonitis and had to quit that. And well, I added a double major in elementary ed. So I became an elementary teacher, which I just ended up loving. And then when I had kids, I quit teaching to stay at home. So now I teach my kids at home, and I am having tons of fun with that.
And you're such a good teacher. I can't wait to talk about that even more. So let's
Thanks.
talk about, you have this great Instagram page called Seek Learning, and you also have this really fun Etsy shop. So do you mind telling us how those got started? Where did you begin with all this?
Yeah, so I didn't have any plans to start anything like this, but about 3 months ago, I just had a dream, and I woke up early in the morning at like 5 in the morning from this really strong dream. It was with strong feelings that I needed to do something to share what I had been learning. Mostly like geared towards things that I was teaching my kids about Come Follow Me for the Church of Jesus Christ, and but also just learning in general. So I thought, okay, how can I share this? I just felt so strongly like I needed to share somehow. And so I set up an Instagram account and just started sharing the things that we were doing at home on there, and started having so much fun setting up these little activities for my kids, like sensory play activities that I thought I want to share this with other moms. And so then I set up an Etsy shop, and this is all still new and kind of in the works a little bit, but I'm kind of still figuring it out. But just felt really strongly. I felt like I had a prompting that I needed to share. And so I'm kind of still figuring it out as I go and letting the Lord lead me into what He wants this to become. Just sharing kind of what we do at home, and having connecting with other moms as well.
I love that. I totally get that. That's where I am. Just show me the way because I don't know what I'm doing. Teach me how to
Yeah.
do a podcast. I love that so much. And so, do you guys homeschool your kids? Or
So,
I
y-
couldn't
um,
remember because they're
yeah,
6. So is that whole like, are we in
yeah, they're
school?
little. So yes and no. So I actually send them to school. My oldest is 6 and he's in kindergarten. So I have
Okay.
one in kindergarten and one in preschool.
And
So I still get
kindergarten where
them.
you are is half day, right? Is it
Yeah.
half day in Utah? Okay.
And it's actually even shorter than that because of COVID, because they have to
They're
have more
like,
time to sanitize. So
go check in for an hour. We'll take him
exactly.
back.
I know. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, it's been so good though. Like at the beginning of the year, I was sure I was going to homeschool because of COVID, because we have a high risk member of our family. And I thought, I was a teacher and I can totally do this. It's only
Yeah.
kindergarten anyway, and I'm going to homeschool. And so I was planning on it and I got all ready. And then I prayed about it, and the Spirit told me so strongly, send them to school, both of them. So my preschooler and my kindergartner. And I thought, really? Like, this is crazy times, and probably school will get canceled. And what if they get sick and they have to wear a mask and all of these things? And so I kept asking, really, do I really need to send them to school? And the answer was yes, send them, and send them with protection, spiritual, physical protection. And so every day before school, we say a prayer. And but it's been really, really good for them to go to school. And they've learned and grown in ways that I couldn't have taught them at home. But I still love teaching. And so I like to play teacher at home too. So we have a lot of time that we still do a lot of things, home learning things.
I think that's so neat. And I think maybe that is one thing that has been so kind of a neat thing about the pandemic is that we have all had instruction personally to do things differently for our families. Like
Yeah,
my
I love
family
that.
is all over the place. My high school boys go in person, and then my elementary kids are doing homeschool. And part of the year we were distance learning. And it's like it's been the weirdest thing. I was kind of like you, but the opposite. Are you sure we need to homeschool?
Yeah.
But it's been a great year, and we're planning on going back to normal school next year. It's
Yeah.
just interesting, the times and the seasons. And I'm just
Yeah.
so grateful for being able to pray and ask the Lord to tell me what to do, because I don't know what I would do without relying on that.
Yeah. I love that. I love that we have to have that spiritual guidance, like that's, fine tuned for our own family. And it's not just for everybody. It's not going to be the same. It's different for each situation. So,
I love that. So one reason that I was so excited to have you on is because you have these really cool car emergency kits. And I've been on this emergency prep kick. Several of our podcasts in the last little bit have been 72-hour kits and just home preparation. And then part of that has just been the pandemic has kind of sent me into that zone. And then we had our big snowmageddon here in Texas a
Yeah.
few months ago. And
Oh
so
my
I
gosh.
just feel like I need to just have more calm and peace of mind, just being ready for life's craziness that's going to come. So I just wondered, have you had an experience that made you feel like you wanted to really make sure you were good at these car kits? Where did that being so good at that come from?
Yeah, so I think a few different things. I think so. I did have an experience that was kind of like one of those more emergency kind of experiences where when my son was 2 years old, he got RSV and
Mhm.
was in the hospital for a few days. And I also had a newborn at the time, and it was just really crazy. At one point, we took him in to be checked before he was admitted to the hospital, and we took him in through the ER and they wanted to admit him right there and ambulance him to Primary Children's Hospital. And so I ended up driving down with my newborn and we got him checked in. And then I had to go home and pick up all of the stuff, which was a kind of a far drive for me. So I had to drive all the way down there and then all the way back home in the middle of the night, and that was really stressful. And that experience made me think, okay, if I just had like a change of clothes in the car, and some other basic things, maybe I wouldn't have had to do that drive home in the middle of the night and I would have been able to stay there with him. And I think I've had some like post traumatic stress from that and anxiety from that experience, just feeling like I wasn't prepared. And
Yeah.
you can't prepare for everything, but I think that had I had a couple more things in my car, I would have had more peace at that time that was really stressful. So that's one thing that kind of motivated me to get started on being more prepared.
That never even would come to my mind, and I don't know why it didn't, because I had a newborn that was hospitalized for RSV, and it was like, you just go and then you're immediately there and you have to either wait for someone to bring you clothes or, oh,
Yeah,
that is
exactly.
such a smart idea. So
Yeah.
let's talk about what you have in your car kits. What do you keep in there?
Okay,
Oh,
so I have like bags of clothes for each kid, kind of like I said, and now we've used them. We haven't had any emergencies quite like that since then, and we've used them more for like everyday emergencies. Like my parents and my in-laws all live an hour or two away from us, so it's just long enough to go, for a day and not stay over. So sometimes we'll go visit. And then we'll drive home and it'll be later than we thought it was. And so we have these bags with pajamas for the kids. We can put them in their pajamas, they can sleep on the way home, and then we can just put them in their beds when we get home. So that's been really nice to have. So we have a bag for each kid in their bags. So I have like extra clothes and pajamas, and then I have little snacks that won't go bad in the car, like animal crackers or goldfish or something. I also like to keep extra shoes for each kid. And a funny story, I have all this stuff in my car, but just a couple weeks ago, we went on a family adventure and we showed up, get out of the car, and one of the kids doesn't have their shoes on. Like they're just at that age where they're old enough to put their own shoes on, but not quite old enough to always remember to do that.
well, and we're making sure that we have our masks with us, but shoes are out the
Right.
window, right?
Yep, yep, we all had masks and no shoes. One kid didn't have shoes. So, we looked and I had normally have shoes stashed for them, but they were winter snow boots and they were a size too small. So I was like, am I gonna make him wear those? Or anyway, so we went and we just bought him some flip-flops and it was fine. But I thought, okay, now that's a good reminder for me to like change those out so they're the right size. But I like to just keep shoes stashed under the seat for everybody for situations like that. We had another time where we went to church and one kid didn't have their shoes on. Like maybe I need to be better at checking before we leave. But so
Totally
that's just
better.
something that's yeah, that's been really good to have. And also I think I tend to get anxiety and like think worst case scenario. So I'm like, if we got stranded in the snow in the middle of the winter, what would I do for my kids? I want to protect them and make sure they have everything they need. So that's why I like to keep the winter boots in the winter. And for me too, like if I had to trek through the snow, if we
Yeah,
were stranded.
totally. And for me, it would probably be flip-flops because if I was stranded somewhere in Texas, it would probably be like 100 degrees and we'd be
Yeah.
all dying of heat, right?
Yeah. You wouldn't want your winter boots for sure. Yeah. That's why I like, and I try to change it out for seasons and like to the
Yeah.
sizes for the kids, which is kind of hard to keep up on. So I'm not always, I don't always have everything perfect in there, but
But
it's better than
something's
nothing,
better
right?
than nothing. It is. It
Yeah.
really is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I also try to keep a blanket for each kid in the car because, like I
Mm.
said, sometimes we're driving home later than we thought, and they can have a blanket and their pajamas. And
Mhm.
we actually, that was a really big blessing for us this summer because we went to my nana's funeral, and I was sad and I was not in an emotional state to really plan very well. And so I didn't think we'd be there long. The funeral's in the morning and it was 2 hours away, but I was like, for sure, we'll be back by bedtime. And we ended up going to her house afterwards and visiting with people and just staying longer than we thought. And so then on our way home, it was time for the kids to go to bed. And so we just pulled over, we had them put on their pajamas and they were already in the car. And so I didn't have to remember to plan that. And then they fell asleep in the car on the way home. So that was just a really big blessing to have
Oh,
already had
that
that prepared.
is that is such a tender mercy. Well,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking as you're saying this, how many times my kids have thrown up in the car or we've been somewhere and they've just gotten, especially the littler ones, if they get really messy, they get really uncomfortable. And I have one kid, if he gets wet, it's like game over, the world's
Yeah.
ended. And it's just so
Totally.
it would be so helpful to have backup clothing for anything like that. It would just be so nice. Or, wetting their pants or whatever happens.
Right. Yep. Everyday emergencies happen all the time with little kids, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I
So, and
love
that's
that.
another reason that, like, having 3 little kids, I wanna get out of the house and go on adventures and stuff. We like to do adventures, but it seems so impossible to sometimes to, like, throw everything in the bag, water bottles and bibs and extra clothes and to remember all of that. So I like to just have as much as possible already stashed in the
It's
car
like
so we
your
can
little
just
home
go.
base in the
Yeah.
car. I
Yes.
love that.
Yeah.
So, what other things do you stash? Because I know you have more things like
Yeah, those are the things I keep for the kids, and then in the trunk I always keep my stroller and a baby carrier, and a case of water bottles, and then like a spare diaper bag just full of diapers and wipes and any other baby things, a nursing cover when I had a nursing baby. And then I keep a first aid kit and jumper cables and like car emergency things that you might need. Um,
what
let's
kinds
see.
of things do you keep in your car kit? Do you have that, the yours
So I
that
have
just
like a pre-made kit. I think I just got it
yeah.
on Amazon.
Uh-huh.
That just has all the like it has jumper cables and I don't think I've ever even opened it, but at least I have it there for emergencies,
Yeah.
and it has a
Yeah.
list right on the front of everything it has in it. So
Awesome.
just emergency car stuff. And then I also keep in the back, I keep like extra coats for everybody in the winter, like if we were stranded. And I think in the summer I'll swap that out for towels so we can do spontaneous trips to the splash pad or whatever. And we have
Such a good
towels
idea.
ready to go. So,
And
and
then you
then
have your change of clothes. If they get all wet in their clothes, they can just
yeah,
dry off with their towel and throw on their
exactly.
jammies.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is so
Yeah.
smart.
I'm not a super spontaneous person, but I want to be. And so I feel like if I prepare and get it all set, then I can do these fun things with my kids, when the moment comes.
And then you won't have to be stressed about it because you'll be all ready to go. Oh, that's
Yeah,
so great.
exactly. Yeah.
Love that. Okay, what else is on that list?
So, okay, so then I keep a bin of just like random supplies. So, paper towels, trash bags. Like, if my kids get muddy and I want to just put their clothes in a trash
Mm.
bag so that I don't have mud all over in my car, we do a lot of playing in the mud. And
My
so,
kids love mud too. It's like a
yeah,
moth to a flame. It's like,
yeah,
oh, do you have to be in
it's
the
so
mud? Yeah.
fun. Yeah. And we've had to figure out a system so that I can like be okay with them playing in the mud. We have these mud suits that they wear and boots and things. So, but we have trash bags, so we can just put those in the trash bags and they don't get all over the car. Of course, because of COVID, everybody is paranoid about germs. So I keep extra hand sanitizer and extra like sanitizing wipes. Yeah, and like paper towels. I can't remember what else. So that's all kind of like in the trunk. But then
Mhm.
in the front seat door, I always keep an umbrella in case it's raining. I can just
Mhm.
grab the umbrella. Extra face masks, extra phone charger.
Oh, phone charger. That's always a good one. So I keep carpet cleaner in my car because my kids have thrown up
Oh,
so many times and we've gone somewhere. Not so much
yeah.
anymore. More when my older kids were little. I had this experience where So my kids were probably like 6, 4, and 2, and I was pregnant. And
Oh
we'd
my
first moved
goodness.
to Texas. And my husband flew a lot for work. So we were driving to the airport to pick him up. And we're about 35, 40 minutes from the airport. So it's not that bad, but we were probably about 7 minutes from the airport, and my son throws up all over himself, the 2-year-old. And so he's
Oh,
freaking out. Luckily, I had a backup outfit for him, because I try
good.
to do that with I never think of doing it for older kids. I need to start doing that. But so I got a clean outfit for him, tried to wipe things up as best you can. You know how it's just like,
Yeah.
what can you even do? We pick
Oh,
up my husband. We turn back around. He throws up at the same exit on the way back that
oh
he
my
threw
God.
up. So we're like, oh my goodness. So we pull over in the same parking lot, strip him down. And by then I didn't have a third outfit for him, so
Yeah.
I think he was still in diapers. So he was upset because he didn't have any clothes on and he's just this
Oh,
mess. And so ever since then, he tended to get car sick a little bit here and there. We just kept the carpet cleaner, and we have used that carpet cleaner for so many things through the
that is so
years.
smart. I've never
So
had a kid
is
throw up in the car. I can't
really?
imagine. Like that
Oh
would,
my gosh.
I mean, my kids are just little. It hasn't happened yet. I'm sure it will eventually,
Oh my
but
goodness. Even when they're bigger on road trips, we've had that happen. And it's like, what do you do when you're in the middle of New York State in the rural place with nothing,
yeah,
So yeah, carpet cleaner.
that
That
so
is my
smart.
hack.
I'm gonna add that to my list.
That one has saved us. So do you keep, because I know some people keep like a porta potty or something like that. Do you have those kinds of things with your strollers
Yeah.
in the back?
So yeah, I keep like a travel potty, and a like a fold up baby high chair. So if we're
Mm,
eating, like having a picnic or something, the baby can have a place to sit. Or we took that with us on vacation so that in the hotel, if we were just eating at the hotel, the baby could have a place to sit.
yes.
So, and yeah, the little travel potty has come in really handy too, like traveling with
Oh,
kids who are potty training or
that's
whoever even are
amazing.
done potty training, just to have a place for them to go has been a lifesaver.
We used to take one with us to the park. I mean, not to like out in the park, but when
Yeah.
my kids were little, we would take it with us when we were going to the park because there was always
Yeah.
someone that had to go to the bathroom. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I need to start doing that again because I have stopped, and it's like, okay, well then I guess we're just all leaving
Yeah.
because we have
It's
to
like once
go.
you take it out of your car, that's when you're gonna need it, right?
Yes,
Okay,
always, always.
yeah.
I love that. Okay, anything else you can think of?
I'm looking at my list here. I have a list. I can't remember if I said it all, but I keep like extra books and toys in the car for the kids.
Mm,
So like my toddler, the kids are pretty good in the car and we haven't gone very far lately with COVID. We haven't been going a lot of places, but my toddler really likes this buckle toy. So I keep that in there for her and just books for my older boys. And they like to play with calculators too. So sometimes we keep their calculators in the car. We
that
think
is
that's really
such a good
cool.
one. Kids
Yeah.
love calculators. I don't know what
Yeah.
it is. That they always go missing too. I can never find a calculator. I'm
Yeah.
glad my phone has one now because I can never find one when I need
Right?
one.
Yeah. I know.
I know you said you haven't been traveling a lot, but if you're going to and from visiting family here and there, since your family's living like an hour or two away, or even just around the town errands, do you have suggestions for how to keep our kids busy in the car? So you said books and a couple other things. Is there any other little hacks you have for road trips or?
Yeah, so, like, when we've gone on road trips or even on an airplane, I've packed a bag of activities for my kids, just things that they haven't ever seen before. They really love my older boys really love these sticker books that are, like, sticker by number. I don't know if you've seen those, but they love those.
Okay, sticker by number. I've seen sticker books,
Yeah,
but
you
sticker
can
by
find
number, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's like paint by number, but with stickers. And I think that's helped my boys learn numbers so well. So we do those sometimes in the car, or we took them once on an airplane with us. So that's been fun. And I usually just try to pack a bag for them if I know we're going to be in the car for a long time. But for the everyday things, I stash just a couple of books and toys. Sometimes I keep those really annoying electronic toys in the car, like up by me just for emergencies, like if the baby's really cranky, and I'd rather listen to the annoying toy than to listen to her
Oh,
cry. That's when
totally.
I will give it to her.
That's actually
So,
brilliant. Don't put it in the house. Keep it in
yeah.
the car.
Yep, because then it's more exciting. They don't get to see it as much, and it saves me sometimes when they're really cranky,
And
so
that's when you're more desperate. That is so
exactly,
smart.
yep.
That is so smart. Okay, so let's tell everybody where they can find you and all your fun things that you're doing.
Okay, so I have an Instagram page and it's called Seek Learning, and it has like an underscore between the two words. So Seek underscore learning. So that's where I'm posting about like how I'm teaching my kids and my car kit and how I'm trying to, prepare and organize so that we can go on our adventures. We like to do a lot of adventures for learning. So that's kind of what
Oh,
the
that's
car
just so
kit is.
awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
so we need to talk about these learning activities that you do because you're really good at it and you have some really fun ones. So let's
Thanks.
talk about some of these. So do you have any like neat learning activities or experiences that you can tell us about?
Yeah, so I like to do like themed learning. So I've been setting up shelves with the everything in the same theme for my kids. So right now we're doing birds, and it has on the shelf, it has books from the library, and then just different activities with birds, like a book that they can hear the bird sounds on, and
Mm.
some little toys and some wooden eggs that they can play with and put in a nest, and puzzles, and just all everything to go along with birds. So I like to set up these themed shelves, and that's really fun for me. It's kind of like my creative outlet.
I
Um,
love that.
yeah, and I do with that. I like to do sensory activities too. So we have this table that Santa brought us for Christmas. That's a sensory table, and it's actually they have some just like it at IKEA, but Santa brought ours. And we play with it, and I put random things in there. Like we just did one with bird seed, and they can scoop it and pour, and all my kids, all their ages, love it. My toddler loves it, all the way up to my 6-year-old. Like he gets really imaginative and creative with the ways that he plays with those. So
So do you keep that inside or do you keep it outside or where do you?
So I keep the table inside, and it's just
Mhm.
kind of by our back door. So when we're ready to play with something really messy, I'll take it outside. Like I don't want to clean up all the bird seed.
Yeah, I was
So I
gonna
put it in the
say, I
grass.
can just
And
see the bird seed going all over my house.
yes. Yeah, in the winter, I did have it inside a little bit, and we
Mhm.
did rice inside, and that was really easy to just vacuum up on our hard floor.
Yeah.
So that only took like 5 minutes to clean up. So that wasn't too bad. But now that the weather's good, we just play outside when it's something messy. And when it's inside, they put like the food from their play kitchen in there and other things that
Mhm.
aren't going to create a huge mess. So we kind of use it for a lot of things. So yeah, so I like to do themed learning with my kids, and it's been really fun because as we've been doing birds, they incorporate it into their independent play. Like every day they're building some different kind of nest right now. Like I cut their hair, and they used the hair. We did that outside, and they picked up the little hair and they made a nest for the birds. And it's just been so fun to watch them be creative. And we made a nest of blankets under the trampoline and read books, and they use their toys and make nests, and they're always creating. And right now, since we're doing birds, they're making all these nests everywhere. So it's kind of fun. And
It's super cute. I love that.
yeah.
Oh, what are some of your other themes? That's really fun.
We did also a space theme that was really
Mm.
fun. We did that a couple months ago. And then I try to do it with holidays. So we did Easter for a while around Easter time. And that was more of like a religious activities that were centered around Christ. But then we also did some stuff for St. Patrick's Day. And I sort of started doing these theme shelves last summer when I was thinking about homeschooling. And so we started doing bugs and
Ooh, bugs
ABCs
is a
last
fun
summer.
one for the summer. That's a really fun
Yeah.
one. What
Yeah.
kinds of things did you guys do with the bugs one?
Well, we did like the theme was like the very hungry caterpillar. And this was
Mm.
before I started my Instagram page. So it just was, I was sharing it with family and close friends, but I didn't ever really share it. But we did the very hungry caterpillar. We did some butterflies that we hatched from eggs, and we
Oh
watched
my
them
goodness.
grow into, or no, they weren't eggs, sorry. They were caterpillars. But then we watched them make their chrysalis. And then we also did the same thing with ladybugs. So the ladybugs go through the
Ooh.
same kind of stages. And so we watched them grow to adults, and then we let them go. And that was really fun. And so it's just been fun to create, it's sort of like I said, it's like my creative outlet to make these activities for my kids. And I think they would learn without that, but it's been fun for me too, and it's been a bonding thing for us to kind of learn together.
I love that intentional teaching and parenting too. I think that that's so great. And I think it just will form connections with your kids that will last through the years. I think it's so
Yeah,
fun that you're doing that. That
yeah.
is really cool.
We've made a lot of good memories, so it's been fun.
Oh, yeah. Well, and you sell like little, kind of like your little shelf kits type of a thing on Etsy, right? I noticed that you
Yeah.
have some little, tell us
Yeah, the
about those a little
sensory
bit.
kit. So I just was having so much fun creating like the sensory kits for my kids, and I was like, I didn't even know about these. A few years ago, I had always heard about sensory play, but I was worried about choking hazards with my little kids. So I was like, no, I'm not gonna go there. Now my boys are older, and then my baby, she's a toddler, but I just watch her really carefully when I have her playing with the small pieces. So, but we've been having so much fun with it that I was like, I want to share this with other moms. And so I'm going to set up an Etsy shop and, just see how it goes and just for fun. The goal wasn't really to like start a business and make a lot of money. It was mostly just to share the fun because I was having so much fun creating them. It was kind of like a creative
So
fun thing
cool.
to
So
do.
tell me about a couple of the things that are on there.
When we did our space theme, I made this space sensory bin with black beans and these squishy planet balls. And like little scoops, little shovels. So that one's on there. Easter, I made one with like Easter grass and then dyed brown rice. I've had fun dyeing rice different colors. So the rice is like dirt and then the grass is like, the grass, and it's just sort of an outdoor. That was for Easter.
Okay,
But
so I have to stop you. How do you dye rice? Like, what do
so
you do?
yeah, so there's lots of different ways to do it. And I think the
I
way
mean,
that
I
I
know
like,
how to dye like cooked rice, but I don't know how to dye just
yeah,
raw rice.
just dry rice. So I just mix a little tiny bit of food coloring in with water, with like a little bit of water, and then I put it in a bag and kind of shake it around. And then I
Mm.
stick it in the oven to dry it out a little bit just to make sure it gets all the way dry. So
Okay, because I keep thinking, how can you do it without it getting wet? And it's like
yeah,
this sticky mess.
yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's
So I just
brilliant.
use a little bit of water and then I just dry it in the oven. So,
Oh,
yeah, once I learned how to do that, it's been so much fun to create different things. For Earth Day, I did like I made an earth with blue and green rice, and that was really fun to set up. So just been a creative hobby for me to do.
love it. I love it. We'll link up to your shop so everyone can go and see what fun things you have in there. That's awesome. So
Cool.
fun. Okay, was there anything I missed? Is there anything else you wanted to share?
As I've been doing this Instagram account and setting up the Etsy shop, it's only been a few months that I've been really doing this and sharing everything publicly, and it's been sort of a hard learning curve of how to balance everything with being a mom. And so I've been thinking a lot about that, trying to find the right balance for my life. And I feel like when I get on social media, it can tend to be overwhelming. There's just so many good ideas out there, so many things that that you feel like you need to do. And so I love this quote that is by Joy D. Jones. And she says, "Women wear many hats, but it is impossible to wear them all at once. But the spirit will help us determine which work to work on today or which work to focus on today." And I just have been really leaning toward that because I've been trying to find the balance in my own life and which hat am I wearing right now? Am I wearing the Instagram hat or the Etsy business hat or the mom hat? And it's hard to find the right balance, but the only way to really know for sure is to have the spirit direct us. And so that's been something that I've been learning in this journey of mine as I've been sharing and creating in this new way for me.
Oh my goodness, I love that. I forgot about that quote. That's one of my favorites. I need to frame that and put that on my wall because
No, I
it's
did too.
so good. And I do forget. And then I get spinning and I'm like feeling all out of whack again. So I love that. That's such a good reminder for me. So I needed you to share that with me today. Thank you. It is hard. And I feel like I'm the type where I just want to do all the things in all the places, like
Yeah,
all the
totally.
mom things, all the work things, all the
Yeah,
other things. And it just gets to be too much. And it's hard to
yeah,
sort through what is the most
yeah,
important at the time.
yeah. The
Love that.
spirit will guide us. We just have to rely on that, right?
Yes. And remembering that, right?
Mhm.
Oh, that's so awesome. So do you have a few extra minutes and we can do our 3 helpful and happy questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I like to ask these so that we can get to know you a little bit better. And
Okay.
then it ties our podcast in with our blog because Helping of Happiness blog talks about family recipes and travel and home hacks. And it also houses our podcast. So our first
Awesome.
question is, what is your favorite food or meal? Or you can say both.
So I love pizza, like, and I've always loved pizza. And I have a funny story about this actually.
Yes,
But
tell it.
when I was pregnant with my first, my husband is really into health, and so I was trying to be super healthy, and also, but I was tired. I was exhausted. I was pregnant, and I didn't want to cook, and so I think I just kept telling him, I just want to get pizza. Let's just get pizza. And I think he was like, okay, she loves pizza. I'm gonna just do something to impress her and make her so happy, my pregnant wife. And so he made me homemade 6 great big pizzas and from scratch, like the dough from scratch and
Oh
everything
my goodness.
for the freezer. And we were actually moving in the process. So we took him from the one freezer to the new house to the freezer. And I got so sick of pizza that I ate it one day and I threw up and I was like, "Oh, I will never eat pizza again." But now I love it again.
Oh my goodness.
So,
Oh, that is like going the extra mile. He didn't
I
just go
know.
buy you a frozen pizza from the
I
store. He makes
know.
it all from
So
scratch.
sweet. I know. It was really nice.
Oh, that is so funny. What toppings do you like? What are your favorite toppings?
So I like just plain cheese or I really like black olives. And,
Oh, yum.
I'm like not super, I don't like a lot of toppings, but I do like olives. So
I don't know if I've ever met a pizza that I don't like. I love
yeah.
pizza too.
Yeah. It's
So
so good.
yummy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so fun. Okay, so what's the best trip you've ever gone on or your dream vacation?
Yeah, okay. So, I when I was in college, I had the opportunity to go to Europe for my work. So we went to Amsterdam for this harp festival. I worked at a music library and I
Oh
got to
my
go
gosh.
film a harp festival. And so I fell in love with the harp. Ever since then, I'm like, I need to learn how to play the harp. But it was just so magical. It was the most amazing thing. And then after that, me and one other girl went to London and to Paris. So that was just amazing. I loved it.
Europe. Man, it's on my list right now. I am watching those airline tickets
Yeah.
like a hawk.
I think there's
Things are
great deals right
starting to
now.
open up. I
Yeah.
know. I'm just
Yeah.
dying to go and I'm gonna call it my family history trip because I have family history there, but I don't know that I'm actually doing any family history. I just want to really go over there because it just
That's such a great idea. But I mean, just
right,
to connect with your roots, to get to know the
right,
place.
right.
Yeah,
I gotta connect with my roots. That's what I keep
totally.
telling my husband.
Yeah.
I feel like my roots are calling me. I need to go back.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, I love that. Okay, what about a homemaking hack? Do you have one for us?
So I was thinking about this and I was asking my husband, he was giving me all these ideas that weren't really homemaking hacks. Anyway, but one thing that I've done that has really helped, like I tend to get in a rut with meal planning. I
Mhm.
do really well for a while and then I burn out and I'm like, oh, what are we gonna make for dinner? I don't even want to grocery shop, I'm tired of it. I'm bored. So I finally one day I just sat down and I got little pictures of all the meals that I liked to make and I just printed them off and put a magnet on the back. And I let my kids help me plan. And this was also because one of my kids was going through a really picky phase. And so I was like, if he has ownership, maybe he'll actually try something
Maybe
besides
he'll
pizza
eat
dips.
something.
Yeah. Or a mac and cheese. So I every week I set out the little square pictures that I have and I just let them pick a few and then we put them on the fridge and then I can order the ingredients that we need and having them help with that makes it more exciting and also it kind of reminds me to do that every week because they're like, "Oh, what's on the menu? It should be on the fridge. What are we having?" So I
Oh,
think
that
it's
is
really
brilliant.
helpful.
That is such a cool idea. I've never thought of that. That is so neat. I love that. What
Yeah,
a fun
thanks.
thing. I
Thanks.
my kids are always happier to eat it if they've had some say. So I do try to ask
Oh,
them or at least to have take turns because there's so many of them, but
yeah.
just it does help, especially my picky eaters. If she know I have one that in particular just struggles with food. I know it has, but
Yeah,
if
so
there's
hard.
something that she knows is on the menu that week, she will just talk about it all week. "Oh, I can't
Yeah.
wait till we're gonna have waffles on
Right.
Sunday," or,
That's
whatever
totally
it
how
is.
my boy is too. Yep.
Yeah.
Kind of anticipate it and look forward to it. And
Yeah, and I haven't forgotten you. I want you to enjoy eating with us,
yeah.
so why don't you grit through these other meals during the week? Waffles are coming.
Yeah.
But, oh, I love that. That is so great. Well, this has been so fun for me to get to know you and hear just your joy in being a mom and teaching your kids. I think that it's contagious. It's just so fun to talk to you. So,
Thanks. And it's been so fun to talk to you. I love your podcast. It's just so positive and full of uplifting things. So
thank
thank you so much
you.
for inviting me.
Thank you. Hey, Lindy. So we've got our segment and we're calling it, Lindy, help me with the name, A Spoonful of Spirit. Isn't this magical? It's like a spoonful of sugar or something. I love it. So we're going to have our little spoonful of spirit, a little helping of happiness here with our scripture reading and getting a little closer to Jesus Christ. So Lindy, let's talk about our topic for this week, which is the second coming. Let's jump in there.
Yeah. Second coming is a fun one. And as I was studying, I was trying to find all of the signs for the second coming so we knew what to look for, And as I was studying, I was realizing that a lot of the signs have been fulfilled or are already in fulfillment, like in the process. That was actually a little bit shocking for me because 10 years when I studied the second coming, then I think that didn't happen, that didn't happen, that didn't happen. We still need to do this. And now I was going through the list and going, oh my goodness, that happened in 10 years. That was fast. And also kind of exciting. I just wanted to give some resources actually of where I found some of my information. Oddly enough, Wikipedia
Really?
had a very comprehensive list. I went through and looked at it all, and there was some that I was like, yeah, okay, maybe, but it really, like, if you use discernment and use the spirit, then that list on Wikipedia was surprisingly robust. So
Well, and I love that you said use discernment and use the spirit, because Wikipedia can have all kinds of crazy things on it. So it's great, I think, that you went into it with those kinds of eyes and not just trusting all of it as true.
yeah, so thank you. Yes, and Wikipedia, I mean, this is off topic, but I believe that it's open to anybody can add to it. Is that correct? I don't know how Wikipedia
Yeah,
works.
I don't know how they fact check that kind of stuff, but I know it's more than one contributor for sure.
Yeah. So that could be a good resource to kind of get a full list and then go from there if you want to see. But also the church website, I love the church website. They have some talks that go into detail about the second coming. They also have in lessons, the Gospel Principles lesson book manual they have the second coming and the millennium, and they had a very, I felt like it was very, very robust as well. It didn't have like a full-on list like Wikipedia did, but it did go into some of the detail of some of the signs and stuff and things that we can do to prepare. So that was a good resource. When I was preparing for the lessons, I was realizing that we generally, when we talk about the signs, we think about all of the negative things that are
The
going to
plagues and
right?
the hail and all the horrible things that are going to
Wars
happen.
and rumors of wars and the natural disasters. And I mean, naturally, we both know, you and
Yes.
I, just our experiences, our
Yeah.
personal experiences this
Yeah.
last year.
Your earthquakes and my crazy snowstorms. Yeah, we've been feeling it big time.
Yeah. And even with the natural disasters, 2 years ago, I was like, I'm so glad that I live in Utah where there's not tornadoes and there's not there's not hurricanes and there's not all of all of these things, and then we have an earthquake, and then we have 2 hurricane wind storms that lasted for 2 days, and Like all of these things that I was like, well, I
And
guess
the fires, I mean, half the
fires.
country was on fire last year. Yeah.
I live on a hilltop, well, not a hilltop, gosh, no, at the base of the hill, but our hill was on fire and my neighbors 1 block up were evacuated. They were out in their streets at 3 o'clock in the morning trying to water down their trees.
Oh my goodness.
You know, all of these things that are happening, and they're very personal, where before they were, at least for me, they were somewhere else, you know. So all of these signs, and we see, like, just like this, we focus on the negative, right? All of these
It's so easy. They stick out so well.
so easy. And I think because there's a story there, right? It's a lot more fun to talk about the unusual, the hardships and stuff, because it's sometimes we bond that way. And I'm not saying that it's not a good thing, you know, but what I wanted to focus on with this lesson are, what are the good things? What are the good things? So I actually, for the kids, I have a picture of the second coming of Christ. It shows Christ in the heavens coming down, and then below him are all of the negative things. It has a tidal wave that's going to hit the city. It has a fire with a storm cloud that's hitting lightning and starting fires on the forest. And there's a war. And I have these things that are underneath. And then you have this page that you glue on top of that has flaps that you can open. And when you open the flap, then under the storm with the fire, you open that and there's a temple. And under the war, then you open that and there's missionaries. To me, kind of illustrated, like, yes, there's all of these signs, and it's scary and exciting, and it's fun to talk about, as we just discovered. But what are the good things that are happening? What are the good signs that have been prophesied? And let's look for those, you know. And even if you look for those, just like it was when I was talking about looking for the signs, a lot of them are in the process of being fulfilled, or they are fulfilled. And that is super exciting. It's super exciting. One, because I hope that the second coming comes before my girls start dating.
Yes. That would be a good one.
Checking some of the signs off the list, going, oh yeah, totally, in 10 years.
Oh yeah. That one's done. That one's done. Yeah.
But I mean, in all seriousness, I actually do it. As much as I love this world and it's so exciting to me, and all of the fun, wonderful technology, like, I am so extremely grateful to live in this time, because of all of the exciting things that are happening. Every year is different. And for my personality, that is just fun for me. But it's also scary. And when I look at my family, then I worry. and so I do pray for the second coming. I
do too. Bring it on. This world's getting ugly enough for me. Let's just get it over with.
Yeah. And then if you read when he came the first time, the Nephites poured their hearts out praying for him. I should have looked up the reference, but there is a reference that says, basically, pray for Christ to come. That Christ came because we will be praying for him. The righteous will be praying for him, and that is why he will come. And so I invite all of you, everybody, to pray for the second coming, to look at the world that we're in right now and be grateful for the good, and to magnify the good and look for the good signs for the second coming, but also pray for him to come. That's what's going to bring him here, is the righteous people. I appreciate this lesson because the second coming, I hadn't studied it for a long time. Like I said, probably 10 years before I did this lesson. And I learned a ton about what I can do and what I can pray for. And like I said, the signs that are in fulfillment that I didn't realize. The list of what still needs to be fulfilled is very small compared to the list of that's already been fulfilled. So it's very exciting. I mean,
and intimidating a little bit when you think about that, you know, like, what do I need to do? What is my part in all of this? I think that's a wonderful thing to think about too, is what is my part in the gathering and the ushering and because there are things that we can do, and it's neat to study. One thing that we were studying a few months ago, maybe it's even closer to the beginning of the school year, but we were talking about what the millennium would look like, because there's so many times I've studied the second coming and all the horror, but we haven't talked about what it's going to look like after the second coming. And we were studying like the temple that would be built in New Jerusalem, and it listed all of these gemstones that are going to be on all the gates and the buildings. And my kids were just like, oh my goodness, they got out their minerals book and they're going through all the different things, and we're going to just have a bunch of geologists collecting all these stones or something. I don't know. But I just thought that really, when you look at the beauty that is going to come out of the ashes, literally, I think it makes us want to pray for it more and not just be afraid to pray for it because you're afraid of the hard things that are happening.
Yeah.
And it makes it feel more real when you talk about it more. So it is
Yeah.
fun to talk about it with the kids. And they were less scared when we talked about the neat things that are happening. It's like you can take, I don't know, the Lord will help you because there's so much good to come.
Yeah. And if you think about it, the hard stuff, we're living the hard stuff. So it's not that scary. I mean, I'm sure there's more, but we have a scary day with a hurricane windstorm, and then the next day the neighbors are out helping us pick up the trees, like it is very exciting if you can have faith and trust, and the signs help us have faith and trust.
Yeah.
Like you can see, oh, this is happening, then we know this is coming. I love that these lessons kind of run into each other, because we talked about the city of Enoch and being unified and being lifted up to Christ before the second coming, and now it's the second coming. And so some of those things to prepare us for Christ and the lessons are really just inspired as far as like their chronology of how they go. Out.
Yeah, I loved that too. When we were studying the City of Enoch lesson last week, it had never dawned on me that they had like the law of consecration where everybody is giving in. Yeah. I didn't realize that they lived that way in New Testament times too. I'd never put those two things together. And the more that we talked about it, we were like, well, it looks like according to scripture, we are going to have to practice that before the Savior comes again. So
yeah,
better start getting ready to do that. So, and I think a lot of that is just letting go of our attachment to material things. I think that is going to be a huge thing, and being able to just give whatever you can. And I don't know that it's always your stuff, but your time and your talents and those things that are even sometimes more hard to give than just money or object, right?
Yeah, and trusting that as you give those things, then you will be taken care of times 10. Like the blessings of giving that are great, and that's hard to trust in because that's not the world we live in, right?
Yeah, it is. It takes so much faith. I love it. Awesome, Lindy. Oh, thank you so much. That was just so great today. Thank you so much for listening. I'm so filled up talking to both of those amazing ladies. One thing I wanted to mention just to make sure that you knew is that we have this awesome printable that Jessie made up that goes along with the car emergency kits. So go to our show notes. Our show notes are just there. If you're listening through your app, you should be able to click on the episode, and there should be a little section of show notes with links to all the different things. There's a link to that there's a link to that printable in there. And if you're listening through our website, it's just right under the little player where you've been listening to this podcast. Just scroll down a little bit. Our show notes are just right underneath that. And you'll be able to find links to everything that we've been talking about. You'll find links to Lindy's stuff over at Enoch Studies, and so that you can go download her Sunday school lessons if you'd like to, or her other fun little projects, or all the great things that we learned from Jessie Hopkins today. So thank you so much for being with us. Make sure, if you haven't, give us a rate, review, and subscribe. And if you want even more from us, go over to helpingofhappiness.com and you can subscribe to our free newsletter. In our newsletter, we've got recipes and travel tips and home hacks, and lots more information about our podcast. So we would love to have you join us over there. Have a great week.